Major may be an undermining word. I would rather call it as radical. There is going to be a quantum leap in the reforms that the government of India is planning on the labor front. Those acts written as early as 1923 to 2008, all of these are going to get compressed and rewritten into one single act called the Code of Social Security 2019. Corporate India, beware. This is the time for us not only to pull up our socks, but also to spend not little but a lot of time and a lot of attention. By the end of this video, my friends, you are going to know exactly what are those 4 changes that I'm concerned about on the corporate front. Right now, it is only a may, but it could soon become a reality. For all my new friends out there, my name is Akash. I'm the director at Relativity for over 12 years, and this is the channel for you smart HRs out there. So, buckle up. We are not going to discuss about the amalgamation of the various acts and what are those going to be, okay? Because you should already be knowing this, and frankly, we have a lot more important issues to discuss. This Code on Social Security was introduced in the Lok Sabha in 2019. Subsequently, it was referred to the Standing Committee on Labour Reforms in December 2019 for their review and recommendations. This Standing Committee has provided its recommendations to the Parliament in July 2020. And you know what? The history says that most of the recommendations of the Standing Committee are incorporated in the Act. There are about 51 recommendations that the Standing Committee has made. They have done a great job into every detail, right? And we are only going to talk about those 4 which are going to be relevant to you and to me. But before we move on, hit that notification and the subscribe button to get these awesome videos from us, my friends. Number 1 on that list, my friends, is to be ready for dynamic threshold of wage limits. If you remember, the Provident Fund's wage ceiling limit is about 15,000, right? And for ESI, it is about 21,000. And this was last changed, if I'm right, in 2014, and for ESI in 2017. Now, the Labour Reforms Committee has recommended that this be linked to the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, and this should be called as the automatic process of wage indexation. So, it actually means that these wage ceiling limits may change every year or every once in 2 or 3 years too. So, you may ask, what is the impact for organizations? Now, who likes their provident fund to keep changing, right? No employee, or the fact no employer may also like their provident fund contributions to keep changing every year. In fact, it is more likely to increase than decrease at all. No one likes increasing EMIs, so I guess no one is going to like increasing provident fund accumulations too. This is also going to bring in complexities for compliance, as if we don't have enough complexities already. Number 2, the definition of permanent and temporary workers. As per the newly introduced Social Security Code, they don't want employers to define permanent and temporary workers separately, which means both have the same rights. Now, this brings in additional responsibility in the following areas, like for example, access to healthcare, income security particulars in case of old age, unemployment schemes, coverage during inability to work due to injury, comprehensive maternity benefits for contract workers as well, and loss of breadwinners. Organizations across all sizes have always had a dual stand when it comes to a permanent and a temporary worker, in terms of leaves, in terms of benefits, in terms of rights and obligations towards these kind of workers. And some employers also have dual types of compensation. Probably a lower compensation for a temporary worker and a higher compensation for a permanent worker. It seems that this can no longer continue. Impact to the organization is that you will have the same responsibility towards all kinds of workers. Point number one. Point number two, hire and fire will no longer work. And point number three is increased payroll and compliance costs are definitely on the chart. Number three, definition of unorganized workers. I mean, see, when you talk about social security, I think in India, we should be more concerned about the unorganized workers, right? Because they contribute to about 60% of the workforce. And the Standing Committee on Labor Reforms is exactly doing that. They are pressing to get the right definition of these unorganized workers. It is felt by this Standing Committee that the existing rules and laws have some gray areas when it comes to this definition, and they are going to address it in a very tactical manner. And as per their recommendation, they want the unorganized sector to include all of the below. Number one, gig workers. They are those who work for a very short period for a specific task. Number two, platform workers. Examples are those on platforms such as Fiverr, People Per Hour, etc. And number three are freelance workers and self-employed workers, commonly used in small and mid-sized companies, and they are commonly also termed as consultants. Currently, different acts interpret this definition differently. For example, the Industrial Dispute Act of 1947. Once the new labor reforms kick in, the Industrial Disputes Act of 1947 is going to come under the Industrial Relations Act of 2019. So they are going to ratify all of these definitions and make it a standardized one, which I think is going to encompass large sector of unorganized workforce. My friend, all these loops I think are going to vanish, and I doubt even if lawyers are going to be able to find one. The impact to organizations are that the cost of outsourced services will go up, and there are these small and mid-sized companies who had a bit of a competitive advantage in terms of cost because they were out of the ambit of such labor laws. But moving forward, I don't think that is going to happen. So they will have to find other reasons to be competitive. Number four, changes to the Payment of Gratuity Act. Now, let me remind you that the current law says that any employee who has 5 years of continuous service is eligible for payment of gratuity, whereas the Standing Committee on the Labor Reforms have asked this to be changed to just 365 days. From 5 years, we are now going to move to just 365 days. What they have told is payment of gratuity could be paid to anybody who has completed 1 year of continuous service, and it should be extended to any type of employee such as temporary employee, contract workers, seasonal workers, and piece rate workers as well. Let me also remind you, my friends, that the current Social Security Code already has a provision to pay gratuity on a pro rata basis to the fixed term employment contracts, right? Now this, if this particular recommendation gets accepted, whether or not we have a fixed term employment contract or not, but this is going to be a big outflow for all companies. The impact to organizations are that their gratuity outflow will increase either directly to the employee or to the policy that they have. Small and mid-sized companies who don't have this policy or a provision for making gratuity payments will definitely see a big hit on their P&L. And there are so many more, but these four caught my attention. Importantly, we've also written a detailed blog post, and in that particular blog post, we have the report of the Standing Committee. I think it should come right up here. You can download the whole report of the Standing Committee on Labor Reforms if you wish to do so. The link is there in the description box below. Feel free to check it out. Now, in the perspectives of a human resource professional, These are the major changes that we should be ready for. Point number 1, no benefit having different types of employees: temporary, permanent, subcontracted, casual workers, seasonal workers, etc. Compliance responsibilities absolutely will be the same across all of these classification of workers. Payroll cost will no longer be a factor to outsource from a large company to another company. Those companies who purely depend on the payroll cost will definitely have to look at other competitive factors. Organizations have to get creative to retain employees. The usual dialogue of if you stay longer, you will be converted from a temporary to a permanent employee, or you will get gratuity if you stay for more than 5 years, or you will get preference if you stay longer with us. All these kind of usual dialogues of human resource professionals may not work in a reformed labor world. Human resource professionals will need to seriously put in hard work, real hard work to retain employees. So what are your thoughts, my friends? Do you think as a country we are moving in the right direction regarding these large scale labor reforms? What do you think? And what are your comments about these unorganized segment which employs or which has a significant share of the employment workforce? Do you think by introducing these changes we will be able to secure the social security of our people? Social security is nothing but the right to live or die with dignity, right? What are your thoughts? I would love to know them. Write down in the comments below, or do connect with me on LinkedIn anytime. Well, I believe that as a country it is obviously beneficial for everyone, right? The general economy improves, and there is a better quality of life for the unorganized workforce or for the organized workforce, it doesn't matter, but generally there is better quality of life. But as much as the importance of rules and regulations are given to labor, to laborers, to workers, to employees, I think even businesses should have some protective reforms. Don't you think? It was nice meeting all of you. Thank you once again, and tata, see you, bye bye in the next one.